my internet was messed up last time. So this time it looks like we're good. So again, my name is Jason Covarrubias, the head track and cross country coach at Southwestern Assemblies of God University in Waxahachie, Texas, just suburbs south of downtown Dallas, and basically same thing with Fort Worth. And so what we've done, we started this coach's logbook session during COVID. What I really missed most was hanging out with my kids and my team. And what we would do every day before practice, we would do a logbook session. And most of the time it's led by me or one of my captains, or my assistant coach. And but we just kind of talk and we throw one-liners and we just kind of grow as a human being more so before running. Because at the end of the day, running comes second, third, fifth. I think cultivating the human aspect of your kids and that, camaraderie that you have amongst each other. And so I really miss that. And so what we did during COVID, we started doing these kind of Zoom meetings with our team. We did it 5 days a week for 15 minutes. And it was good. I enjoyed just seeing them in their comfort of their homes, just like I see you all right now. And but once school ended, it was like, man. And so Coach Gonzalez, a couple weeks ago, they replayed his mile split video when he was big time, and in his program over at Eagle Pass, and I saw it, and Coach Gonzalez and I have made real connections over the years at coaching schools and things like that, and I just kind of really like, man, I respect this guy. He's way on the other side of the country, well, might as well call it country, and and just connecting. We have a couple of his runners at our school, and so I sent him a message on Facebook. I said, man, I just really miss not being able to hang out at coaching school, because I believe coaching schools, they're great. I love it. But I get more from the people. There was one time when I coached football at Cedar Hill High School. Well, I used to film for Cedar Hill High School. I wasn't really coaching football. And we go to coaching school at San Angelo, and I would even take a pen or a pencil or a pad. I just went for the fellowship. I mean, that's why I was there, to hang out, and I learned more that way. And so this is kind of what this is. This is the time that we're not listening to somebody lecture. We are just sitting around at a table, hanging out, talking, eating, and just really kind of sharing what we do. And so this isn't me talking to you. This is us kind of learning from each other. How can we make our programs better? And if you feel comfortable talking, that's awesome. If you don't, hey, there's no problem with that. You'll see there'll be some of my runners, because at the college level, we're a little bit different than high school, because some of these guys on here are looking at being you one day. And so we want to prepare them so that when they go to their next, to their first job here in a couple of years, they know how to set up a program and how to impact lives, because that's what every single one of us do. And so we are, so basically that's what it is. So I just ask that you'll just respect each other. I figured out how to mute people, so I could do that, but I don't really want it. I want you to just feel free. You can raise your hand and I'll call on you. But we just share. And I have some questions I'd like to ask, so we can just kind of talk and just share. Last week, let me make sure before I jump. Okay, I don't want to talk about what we did last week, but one cool part about our segment is we have a special guest. Last week, we had McFarland USA, and he spoke kind of about just the movie and the truth, but how that's really impacted his life and running has as a runner and as a movie star, and as now he's a celebrity, goes all over places. He's actually in Utah. I saw it on his Facebook right now, presenting. And so this week we have Mario, and Mario has played a huge role in my program. I met Mario, I guess it's been about a couple years now, and he's from Waxahachie, which is, that's our city. And Waxahachie is a big running town. It's weird because it's not a very big city, but there are hundreds of people running nonstop, and cyclists and all that thing. And so Mario is a guy. He has his own company, and he helps basically talk about you and help work on you. As runners, that is one of the most critical portions of competing is how can you learn to get out of the way and not kill yourself and not beat yourself up. And so we brought Mario in. He's come in, I think now, has it been 4 times, Mario? 3 or 4? He knows he has all the checks.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I had to unmute myself. I'm not quick on this thing. Yeah, I think it's probably been 3 or 4 times that I've been out to chat with your folks. Yeah.
You know, and so we do we do a team meeting, and every week we would just meet in. And so we bring Mario in, you know, twice a year or once a year or that kind of thing. And he just talked to our kids and they work about kind of self-help. And so we have a little segment that we're going to give them in a few minutes, an opportunity to share with us. And so he's going to be our feature today. But before we get to Mario, I'm just going to kind of go around. If you'd like for me to call you by your name, make sure that, you know, you can rename yourself so I can see it. And I'm going to actually write down everyone's name so I can have it. So if I want to call on you, and so I'm going to start off and you just kind of unmute yourself and you can just kind of introduce yourself, what you do, where you're at. And we'll just get through this pretty quickly so we can get to some good stuff. So, Brian, go ahead. You can go ahead and start first.
All right, no problem. Brian Zuno. I am the head cross-country coach, track and field coach, and baseball coach at Harmony School of Innovation, Fort Worth, a charter school on the southwest side of the city. I'm also finishing up my master's degree in sports administration, currently at Texas Wesleyan, working under Mr. Ricky Dotson. Sorry, I know the AD over at Sagu too, but Ricky was the first one to come back with the email. So I should be done with that and get my master's degree August 7th from Arkansas State University.
There you go. Congratulations. That's awesome. Yes, Texas Wesleyan, they are in our conference. So you can just call it
they're rivals.
School. Yeah, just call it that school and we'll know what you're talking about.
Okay, gotcha. I'll cover up the hat then.
There you go. Excellent. All right. Okay, Coach Gonzalez.
Hey guys, I'm Coach Gonzalez, Eagle Pass High School boys and girls cross country and girls head track coach. Nice to be here again.
Excellent. Thank you. Coach Alonzo.
Hey guys, Coach Alonzo from Irving MacArthur High School, head boys and girls cross country coach. Thanks for having me.
Excellent, man. Thanks for being here. Sage.
Hello, I'm Sage Bree. I'm a grad assistant coach over at Southwestern Assemblies of God University. And it's a pleasure seeing y'all again.
All right, let's see. Ben.
Hey, I'm Ben Nicholas. I'm the head coach of Village Tech Schools in Duncanville, Texas. Head cross country and track coach and athletic director over there. We're in our 3rd year of really doing cross country. And 2nd year of really doing sports just in general. So really excited to be here.
There you go. The Squids.
The Viper Squids, the Viper Squids.
Yeah, if I remember, I used to be a youth minister at the church that they did all their meetings when they first started. Mm-hmm. And so I saw they came out with the shirt, the Squids. I thought, oh man, that's awesome. So looks good though. I tell you, some of the stuff, your gear is impressive. So make sure you send me a shirt. I will wear it. Excellent.
Will do.
All right, David.
Hey, I'm David Burisaga. I'm currently going to be a junior at SAGU. I'm one of Coach C's runners.
He is our team chaplain as well, and he is from Weslaco, Texas. So way down there, I'm excited. He's bringing me some food when he comes back. All right, let's see. Coach Harris.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tony Harris coming to you from Jacksonville, Texas. Head cross country, and then in the spring, I'll work all the distance kids with track and field.
All right. Robert.
Coach Scott Hinkle. I know it says Robert, first name Scott. I'm the new head cross country coach at Everman High School. I'm also the head girls soccer coach, been there for 4 years. Coach Lindsay from Legacy is an old high school friend of mine, a real close buddy, and he's kind of walking me through the ropes of this cross-country world. So I've been invited by him. So I appreciate him and all you guys are letting me join in.
Excellent. Smart man. He sent you this way. Don't listen to Jeff. Whatever you do. All right, Coach Utley.
Hey guys, I'm Shannon Nutley. I'm the head boys and girls cross country coach at Summit High School, also head girls track. And I grew up going to the church that Village Tech is currently located in. So you're in my parents' backyard, just down the road a bit. So yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. Thanks for joining us. Oh, KP. Hey man, you can sit down, dude. You're all right?
Yeah, my legs, I'm tired. My legs hurt. But my name is Carrington Pierce. I go by KP. I am the men's spring captain. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I will be a senior this year, and I run for Coach C.
Yes, thank God. Senior. You know what that means, right? Whew, almost done. Thank you, Jesus. All right. Hey, Kobe, you made it.
I'm here. You want me to go? All right. Kobe Styles, head women's only, head cross country and track and field coach at Midwestern State University in Wichita Falls, Texas, entering year 14.
Good night. Isn't that awesome? 14.
I can't believe it.
Excellent. Can you believe they let you stay that long? I'm
Nope.
great. Awesome. Thanks for being here. All right, so I have one more. It says iPhone. Who is that one?
Hey, it might be me, Jeff Lindsay. I'm kind of in drive mode, so I got you on. I got you on speaker, so I didn't miss the first half of this thing. Okay, but so I'm not really looking at my phone. But it's Jeff Lindsay, Mansfield Legacy, my 14th year coaching. Yeah, and I disagree with Coach C. I mean, you can listen to me, Scott, if you want to. I mean, I got a little insight. I've been doing this a little bit, but I lead you to water for you to drink from a better source. So, anyways, here we are.
Excellent. Yeah. Don't listen to him. Listen to him. Excellent. Good job. Awesome. So that is everybody. Thank you all for being here. Mario, I'm going to pass it over to you, man, and let you talk. And I'm going to mute everybody, and then you can mute if everyone just mute themselves, and then we can go ahead and let Mario have it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Coach, just thanks for the opportunity. I think it's great what you're doing, just getting people together, because I think we can probably all agree that we're all losing a little bit of our minds, and it's just nice to see some familiar faces and get together and share the common experience, obviously, that you guys have with working with young people. So what, you kind of let me have the floor and you told me, hey, just give them something. And this is something so just to back up, I am a mindset coach, sports psychologist. I can't call myself that because I don't have the doctorate. But that's what I do for a living. That's my business. But I did teach for 10 years. I taught middle school, and I asked them to get me out of the middle school classroom as quickly as I could. And they were gracious enough to move me to high school, which is awesome. And I taught Spanish. So I'm really passionate about working with young people. I don't care what anybody says about young people. I think they're fantastic. I think they're capable of great things, no matter what anybody might say about them. And so, throughout this pandemic, I've been thinking a lot about young people and about, what are they doing, right? Like, how are they spending their time? How much Fortnite are the guys playing? I guess, I don't know what the girls do. They're on TikTok or something. I don't know, but like, what are they doing right now? Right. Because they don't have the supervision that they're used to having from a coach, and they might have wearables on and they might have to upload things to different places, but kind of like we did when we were competing sometimes, you can always find the shortcut if you really want to. And so are they really plugging in? Are they really kind of taking all the things that we've taught them to be the best version of themselves, to get better, to improve, to eventually, when the flag drops again, to say, I'm ready, coach. You can check me out. You can go have me do a time trial or however it is you guys assess their fitness, and it's there, and they're the complete package. And I think if we look at us as adults, at least I can speak for myself personally, I believe I'm a pretty motivated individual. I can say that, you know what, like I've had good days and I've had bad days. I've had days where I've absolutely knocked it out of the park and I've been like, there you go. That's the standard of performance that I'm used to for myself. And then I've had days where I've fallen flat on my face, and the pandemic and everything else going on in our world has just completely taken the wind out of my sails, and I haven't given my best effort on that day. Again, I'm not saying that it's totally my fault, but I feel like we've all kind of been up and down. And so what I wanted to share was, you guys are going to get your kids back at some point. You're going to get your young adults back. For those of you collegiate, we can call them young adults. We won't call them kids and berate them. But it's like, at some point, we're going to get back our athletes. And, how are we going to handle having them back? And I feel like that's going to be very important for us in how we approach them when they do come back, and how we treat them and the things that we might say to them. So I want to start off by, has anybody ever heard of, I'm sure you guys probably have, neuroplasticity, the idea of neuroplasticity? So neuroplasticity basically states that, the human brain it can adapt and it can change. So the wiring inside of our brains, much like a computer, you get a computer out of the box, it's wired to do certain things, it's got a certain amount of memory, and it can do certain tasks, and that's pretty much it. And if you want to upgrade your computer or downgrade your computer, not that you want to, but you have to go buy another machine. Neuroplasticity, because the mind is a lot of times compared to a computer, neuroplasticity states that actually, if you want to upgrade your computer, your mind, you can actually do that through the process of neuroplasticity. Unfortunately, the reverse is also true. Not that we do it on purpose, but you can actually downgrade the computer of your mind as well. And those folks that take a passive approach to their mindset, kind of essentially what they do, because they start watching CNN or they start being too, on Facebook too much. And I mean, I don't know how y'all feel about that stuff, but a lot of times that's kind of downgrading versus reading a good book or being on here and doing something like this. And so this idea of kind of neuroplasticity and just kind of like putting that, before our kids, putting that before our athletes, maybe not being as sciencey and as preachy with it, but just kind of understanding that they're going to come back to us and they may have regressed a little bit. And, it's weird. It's weird for all of us. I mean, we could be doing this face to face, but no, we really can't. Right. So, they haven't seen their friends in a while. Maybe they haven't been working out. It feels uncomfortable. And then it's like that first interaction when we all see each other again, like, what's that going to be like? And, there's a lot of egos there. So if I was the fastest guy on the team, but I didn't really do a good job during my break, again, it shouldn't be a break, but if I took it as a break and then all of a sudden I get beat, what does that do to me? And there's just going to be a lot of stuff that we're going to have to deal with. And we're going to have to really have a beat on our athletes and on our kids and kind of understand where they're coming from. And some of them may be fundamentally changed in the way that they view the world and their perceptions and things like that. And so for us as coaches, kind of throw out another thing here called expectancy theory. And the idea behind that, kind of piggybacking off of like neuroplasticity, is the idea that the brain rewiring, like that process of either upgrading the computer of our minds or downgrading the computer of our minds, like that is fundamentally based on what we tell our brains. And this is kind of hard because like my brain is in my head right now, but if you can separate me from my brain, what I choose to tell my brain that I believe that the predicted outcome of something is going to be. Right. So if I, for example, let's just take a 5K because it's easy and it's popular. If I, come back from this break or this layoff or whatever we want to call it, and my prediction about my 5K time has improved or gone down, then my brain is going to adapt to that prediction that I now have about my performance and what I'm capable of. And it will rewire itself so that, well, I get what I'm looking for. And either that's an increase or, a decrease in the performance. And so understanding that principle and essentially just kind of placing that before our athletes and allowing them to kind of work that out for and struggle with that on their own. But you know, one of the things that I feel that we can probably do as a service to our athletes when coming back is like if you think about like a scatter plot, where, you know, statistical thing where there's a bunch of dots on it and then the statistician just draws like a line, and that's basically kind of the average, and there's a lot of dots above it and a lot of dots before, you know, below it, and that's essentially kind of where all these plots lie. And then you're going to have plots that are going to be like way up, you know, above that line, and plots like way below that line. And, you know, a lot of times when they're doing the statistical and crunching the data, they take those out. They take out, they're called outliers, right? They take out the highs and they take out the lows, and they go, this is kind of average right here. I would say that probably the best thing we can do for our athletes is come in with an open mind on what your athlete's new current scatter plot may look like. And what I mean by that is if you had a kid, you know, an athlete that was able to just, you know, nose breathing their 5:30 mile, you know, during your 4x1 mile repeat workout or something along those lines. And that was their old scatter plot, right? And you get them back and they're now a 5:50. That's 20 seconds in a mile for a 4x a mile. You know, that's a lot, right? Kind of gently just let that organically, just maybe that's a new scatter plot, right? Like it's okay for that to be the new line where these performances are going to kind of fall for a little while. And then kind of slowly introducing like the neuroplasticity, the expectancy theory, kind of like, you know, foundation where you say something to the effect of, I understand that this was a really hard time for us to get through, and, you know, things like, I'm just happy to have us all back. Doesn't it feel good to all be back as a team and just be hanging around with each other and laughing? And man, it's just great to see you. And hey, we're going to work through this, right? Like, don't get discouraged. Don't get depressed about where your performance currently is. You know, chances are we've probably got a lot of time before competitions come back. So chances are you've got a lot of time to work with your kids, and you've got a lot of time to get them fit and make them fit again. Because for a lot of them, they're going to want, you know, they look up to you guys, right? I mean, you know, for some of them that are coming from, you know, not the best homes and environments and stuff like that, like, they miss you like crazy, and they want to impress you. They want a pat on the back. They want you to know that you're proud of them. And so if they try as hard as they may, you know, they're just not where they used to be. Just kind of remember the role that you play in like, you know, Coach C was saying, in character development, and just understanding that it's just bigger than just running, right? And so just getting them back and just getting them back in that, you know, safer environment than a lot of them probably have at home. More stable, you know, more structured environment that they might have, and just work with them on that, and just slowly start kind of raising that, you know, that scatter plot, slowly kind of raising that average up, because it will begin to come back up, right? Because the other thing you can do with them is say, hey, you know, we've been here before. I mean, do you know what it takes, right? Just like asking good questions and making them think, right? Like, what did it feel like when you were doing those repeats at 5:30? Right? Like, how did it feel versus how does it feel now, you know, and kind of getting them back to where that was, because that's obviously where they've been, but maybe some detraining, you know, did happen. And so, yeah, I just think that's going to be, the key. You know, I think that the programs that are going to be like, the programs that are going to be successful and experience the least amount of lag. And what I mean by lag is like everybody just kind of like got punched in the face, and like we're picking ourselves up off the canvas, like wondering what just happened, and it's going to be chaotic, and there's mask or no mask, and just all these different questions. I think the programs that are going to get back on their feet and get back to work, which is what I know we all want to do, let's just get back to sweating. Let's just get back to, you know, putting in the hard yards. The programs that do that the best are going to be, you know, the ones that I feel kind of foster first and foremost the love and the care for the individual, and then just beginning to coach them exactly where they are, where that present state of their fitness is, where their minds are, where they are emotionally, where they are spiritually, you know, for those of you that work in a more spiritual context, and just figuring out where that is, and then just kind of going from there. you know? But, you know, the fact remains, like, I'll end with this. I think one of the things that I tried never to lose sight of when I was in the classroom was, you know, finding out a student had done something like cheat on a test, or they asked me to go to the bathroom and I found out they went out to their car, or, you know, just something they weren't supposed to do it, right? They deceived me, or, you know, whatever. And one of the things that I tried to always keep front and center was, I said to myself, were you 15 one time? Were you 18 one time? For those of you that are in college, were you 20 one time? I mean, what'd you do? Well, I actually didn't just go out to the car. I probably got in the car and drove somewhere. Like, you know, so not forgetting that the mistakes that they're maybe making they're par for maturity, right? They're par for the course in terms of maturity, in terms of building character, in terms of learning things that they're not just going to learn by sitting there and listening to us talk about it. And so, you know, when we get them back, just being gentle with, there's going to be some that probably didn't do a great job during the coronavirus. I mean, they just didn't. But again, does it matter? You know, honestly, at the end of the day, does it matter if they didn't? No, it doesn't. What matters is, are they present? Are they there with you? Do you have the opportunity to now begin to make an impact and begin to build them up? Yes. And so we just kind of work from there, you know? And for the ones that did do a great job, because hopefully you get some that did do a great job. I mean, you know, hopefully you did get the ones that understood that, gosh, if they did a great job, man, they're going to come out of the gate and they're going to have so much on everybody else. It's going to be just really fascinating to watch, because some of the kids that may have done this may be the ones that you weren't expecting it to come from, or that maybe all of a sudden they were your number 4 and now your number 1 would have to have a great day to keep up with them. And so, you know, hopefully you get some of those examples, and then, you know, what do you teach from that example, right? Like, you know, making that individual an example of neuroplasticity, of the expectancy, you know, theory. And it's just, I had this time where I had a lot of time, I had a lot of free time, and I didn't have any competitions. And so I was able to break my body down to a level where maybe I went for a run in the morning and then all I could do was sit on the couch and watch TV all day. But I worked myself out so hard because there's no penalty right now for working yourself all the way to the edge of the cliff. I mean, what happens if you overtrain right now? Nothing, right? Like, you don't have a competition. There's nothing to save for. There is no taper. And so maybe some of your athletes saw that opportunity and they've been doing some incredible amount of work. And so taking them and saying, all right, but you got to be careful what you wish for, because guess what? I'm on to you. That's your new scatter plot, right? Like, that's your new average, which is a great thing. But then it's also kind of, you know, massaging into that particular athlete that is your new standard of performance, right? Because that's what you've shown me you're capable of. And so now, you know, holding that person accountable, you know, to that standard. So, you know, hopefully you do have some athletes that understand that, gosh, this is an unprecedented time in human history, but I don't think there's been a time like this that we've ever experienced to be able to build the incredible amount of fitness that some people have been able to build during this time. If you saw the opportunity to do so, you know, and if you were able to, you know, capitalize on the fact that you're going to be really tired, you know, and come to have to come to grips with just that, you know, level of fatigue. So, yeah, that's what I got, Coach. I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything like that they'd want to ask.
Does anyone have any questions for Mario? I was, man, that opened my eyes to a lot of things that I never really considered stepping into, you know, as we look forward to jumping back into this thing. And all I've been thinking about was when they show up, I can't wait. We're jumping, like we just restart. But I think you really kind of opened my eyes at the restart isn't going to be what we're used to. And yeah, go ahead, Scott.
I was just going to say I really appreciate what you said, Mario, about kind of the pattern and the rhythm and how you need to get a new scatter plot. Being a first-year cross-country coach, you know, I'm big into running, big into cycling myself, but I've never coached it. So this is a whole new learning curve for me. And when we went back to summer workouts a couple of weeks ago, it was going to be my first week seeing any of our kids since March. But it was definitely going to be the first time seeing my cross-country kids, or seeing my kids in a cross-country aspect. You know, I have a lot of multi-sport that I know the kids. And without telling them the words specifically, I went into that first week thinking, all right, I have no idea where y'all are at. I have no idea what you're capable of. We're just going to run, and I don't have high expectations. And I worded it in a way to make them believe that, you know, because you've been off this long, this is just a, hey, let's just knock the dust off. In fact, those are the words I used. I said, this is a knock the dust off. Like, let's just kind of get back at it. And I was really worried that I was the only coach out there that needed to do it that way as a first year, because I really had zero expectations. I had no idea.
You know, that if I can just say something real quick, like that just gave me an idea that maybe you guys might want to implement kind of along the lines of what you were saying, Scott. It's like, again, I don't foresee, I mean, it would be like, no, it's not track time. It's summer break time, right? So it would be like, what would be next would be cross country that would start. Like, you guys kind of would be able to start training, I guess, pretty soon here. Or at least your kids should be running right now, right? Like, getting ready for you guys to come back, organize practice and stuff like that. But, you know, I think maybe one of the lessons that maybe you could get across is, you know, what if you did no watches for a while? What if you did no data for a while? What if you just, hey, we don't need watches. You know what, actually, we're just going to do these loops right here. I don't know how long they are, but I'll tell you guys when to stop, you know, and you obviously know, you know, it's going to be 30 minutes. They'll probably do 4 laps, or some kids might only do 3 or whatever. Right. But you just, and then you bring them back and you do that for a little while, you know, as long as you can tolerate. I know that data is a beautiful thing and we all crunch data and everything like that, but here's the reason why I'm thinking that maybe that might be something good, because after that, you know what, you can have such a fruitful conversation with your athletes, and you can say, can I ask y'all a question? Did y'all enjoy that? Did you enjoy actually, and this kind of goes against what I just said, because I was talking about expectancy theory, but did you just enjoy you put one foot in front of the other, you were amongst the company of your friends that you know well, we're outside again. I mean, you just begin to just kind of get them to walk down, because here's what the coronavirus has taught me in working with athletes, myself an athlete, you know, continuing to try to work out during this time. If you don't love what you do, you didn't do it for the last 4 months or 3 months or however long we've been in this thing. And I don't know how long we've been in this thing, because I haven't stopped riding my bike. I've actually been training more than I ever have. And so if you didn't love it, the coronavirus knocked you down, right? Because you're not passionate about it. You don't see the reason. Coach, there isn't a race. There's nobody to beat, but there is somebody to beat. It's yourself, right? But if you don't have that passion and that love for it, then, and so anyhow, like, if you took all the data away, if you took all the metrics away, if you just got back to maybe doing a week, 5 days, 2 weeks, whatever, maybe they really like it. Maybe you see, I mean, there are studies out there that show you secretly start timing them and they're running so much faster than they think they are, and you don't even tell them they are, and they're just knocking it out of the water. And all of a sudden you go, hey, I got something for you. I've been studying you guys for 2 weeks. Your scatter plot is like way higher now. You don't even know it because you have no idea what you're doing, because you just love it. You're just in love with the process, right? And so anyhow, that's, yeah, kind of maybe a little bit related to what you just said there, Scott. Just an idea. I don't know if you guys can get away with it. Again, I know we love data. I was a runner too, man. I get it.
That's good. Anyone else have? Brian?
Yeah, I've met with my kids the last couple weeks on just voluntary workouts. I haven't seen my entire team, just a random like 10 to 15. But one of the things I'm finding is, once again, they haven't been training as they've normally, especially at the high school level, because we do have parents who decided we're going to quarantine, no one going out, things like that, no matter if you're an athlete or not. But what I found out is my best runners have been their own harshest critics. I've got 3 kids who I generally think can make the 3A state meet down in Round Rock in November. And they kept talking about times. Well, I should be running a 5:30 mile at this point. I've been running off and on, and that's off and on during the break. And I said, stop there. You've been running off and on. You haven't been on the normal rigorous training program that we've been on. So you have to cut yourself some slack. You know, when meets start back up in August and September, when the district and regional meet, you will be ready for those. You'll be running the times you want to be running at that time. But here on July 1st, the end of June, when you haven't really run since the last track meet before spring break in March, you've got to cut yourself some slack. We will get there. It's just a matter of getting out there and just doing something, some running, a couple of miles, 4 miles. And like you said, Mario, get rid of the watch. We don't need the watch right now. We don't need to know your splits and things like that. Just go out, enjoy running right now, get back into the feel of it. And when school starts back up, that's when I'll bring out the data sheet. That's when I'll bring out the clock, and that's when we'll start working at things. But your kids are going to be their own harshest critic, especially your good ones.
Yeah, that's good, Coach. You know, Sage.
I would say even piggybacking off of what both of y'all had said, I remember my senior year, I had really become adamant on going to nationals because just the year prior, I was actually kicked off the team for not caring enough. And so I had made a decision my junior year, I was going to come back and win conference. And then that following year, I was going to come back and go to nationals. And so I had talked to some of my teammates and, of course, my coach. I shared my goals with him because he knows how to get me there. And so I was speaking with him and a few of my friends, and we were talking about getting into nationals. And it was probably about the 6th week into training. We already had our first meet, and I was feeling really bummed because I had run it was like a 26 mid, and I had projected myself to run sub 26. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get to nationals like this. And my coach was like, dude, you just had like the best race of like your career. You just like relax. And I was like, I can't relax. Like nationals is coming up, and like this one meet, it sets the whole tone and all this other stuff. And I'm blasting we were on a mile-based program. It wasn't Pavo like we do at SAGU. So we had our 8-mile runs, and my friends and I, we were running at like 6 flat pace for the whole thing. We're just burning ourselves out. And so kind of like how Mario said, my coach had pulled me off to the side, and he goes, hey man, do you have like an analog watch? I was like, yeah. He goes, okay, well then can you give me your running watch like right now? I was like, for what? He goes, dude, every time you come in, you're always talking about, man, I only ran 6 flat pace for this. And he says, you're not even focused on the actual run. Can you tell me how your body's feeling? I was like, no. He goes, yeah, man, give me your watch. And so he had me run with the analog watch and just gave me time. He said, come back here in 45 minutes, come back here in 50 minutes, come back and things like that. And then just like that, I was noticing I was feeling better because I wasn't like, oh man, it's mile 2. I'm not even touching 6:30 pace yet. Oh crap, I got to pick it up. It was more of, okay, how's my body feeling? Do I need to speed up? Do I need to slow down? How much time do I have? How am I feeling? And then exactly like Coach Brian had said, it was more of just being able to enjoy it. And so it's not that serious. Like each day we build, we can't say I'm going on a steady incline. It's more of peaks and valleys that way you give yourself time to rest and give your body time to build its muscle. It takes 2 weeks for a workout to even show up. So I can't do a killer workout and then be like, tomorrow, why am I not touching 4 flat for my mile? Yeah, this is ridiculous. So I definitely agree with that. And going through it, I can definitely say that's a tried and proven method of getting the runner to fall back in love with the sport, opposed to just saying, go out there and get your miles done and I'll talk to you when it's over.
Yeah, that's good. KP, want to say something?
Yeah. Reverting back to the PPM system at SAGU, it was a struggle for me as a sprinter because, I'm used to 100, 200, and I'm done for the day. I'm not worried about anything else, nothing over 400. I'm not touching none of that in none of my workouts. I'm not touching no mileage or nothing. But when we first started PPMs, I would have my watch on. I would do my watch at the starting line. Coach C would say, ready, set, go. I press start. And when we first started, what was my mile time? Coach C, you remember?
Man, this is recorded. I don't want to put that out there.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So it wasn't too hot. It wasn't too hot. But when I started not to wear my watch, I got faster. And because during my run, I would look at my time and I'm like, it's already bad. So might as well just keep running. But, my time is already bad. So I can't make it better just by trying to run harder. So I just stopped wearing my watch. And when I stopped wearing my watch, my times got faster because I didn't have nothing to look at. I didn't have no time to worry about. I didn't have no expectations for myself because I wasn't looking at my watch every, 2 minutes on my run. So, thinking about what Sage just said about his coach telling him, after this, go run for 45 minutes and come back to me. I believe in that too. I didn't wear my watch. And when I started not to wear my watch, I got faster. So
that's right.
I like that.
And that's a sprinter who, in our 5 mile PPM, he could sit there and at the end average out, 645, 630, 640 as a sprinter. And so yelled at me the entire time, but it was okay. He figured it out, and so, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I know this kind of organically made its way to the topic that I wanted to speak on this week, and is our kids are coming. Hopefully they come here in a few weeks. Some of y'all have already started showing up with their kids and meeting with your kids. I have never, when I was a high school coach, I never would meet with my kids in the summer. So I have a different philosophy, and it actually lines up with COVID because in kind of what we're talking about, the watch, my kids will tell you, we are a mile-based summer program. I put no time on their workouts, never. I tell them, go and run this many miles. That's all. And every single one of you will tell you here, they always want to know how fast, how slow. I said, I don't care. That's not what it's for. And so they come in the summer a little bit better, which for me, sometimes it's hard because I don't know what they're going to come in with. I've seen some kids who, one kid came in and he would run 5-6 miles, but he'd go and run at Cedar Hill Preserve, which is like going up and running the Grand Canyon in Texas. And he averaged maybe 12 miles, 12-minute, 13-minute mile. Yeah, you didn't get any better, man. Thanks. So good effort, but let's do a little bit better on that. But, he's an outlier for sure. But, so that's kind of how I've always been. And I write up a program for everybody and I send it to them and I let them choose. I make a 30-miler, 40-miler, all the way to 110-miler in the summer per week. And we sit down and every single one of them will pick which one they want. And I don't demand a certain amount of mileage because my program is based off of them and wherever they feel like they want to go and what they want to do. And Pavo gets a bad rap. People think we're burning kids out, which, this isn't a Pavo promotion, but I don't put limits on kids, but I also don't put expectations on kids. I let the kids do that. And so we give them their summer mile workouts and they show up when it's time. And so that's kind of what my question was for you. And that's kind of what this all encompasses. And Mario kind of just led us right into it is, and we need to maybe even change our thinking. So when those kids show up here in a few weeks, legitimately, not just the ones that want to come out like Coach said, he's got 10 to 15 kids just show up and Scott had a few kids here and there. But when they are having to come report day one, what we've done every year, or, is it going to be the same? What are we doing day one? And my wheels are just turning, thinking, good Lord, my plan has to change. Because I'm expecting my kids, my heart was hoping that they show up and we're ready to get going, ready to go to work. But I think there's going to be a lot of legwork that needs to be done before we can even really go to work. And so I'm a little worried, but that's kind of what this is for. So what are some ideas? What do you think? I mean, what are you planning on doing when you show up? Have you even thought about what day one looks like when everyone's allowed back? If that's August 10th, August 24th, November 5th, who knows? But the day we show up, what are we going to do? What are you going to do? All right, Coach.
I don't mind sharing kind of my plan. To really quick take a jump back, we at Village Tech, we don't use watches, and that's not a choice that we've intentionally done. Our kids, just in this beginning stage, just don't have them. In fact, that was my requirement for the summer pre-pandemic, was that they all needed to get some sort of watch this summer. It didn't need to be GPS, but some sort of like, this is your start time, your stop time. And so we've done everything based on distance. And the one thing that comes out from that is they're incredibly confident week in and week out. They come out feeling, we talk about how they feel after the run. We talk about how they feel going into the week, knowing when their meets are, all that stuff. So they're incredibly confident on meet days of like how they do. Now, it doesn't always work. That's not, I don't think that's my favorite strategy, but it is what we do right now. Because sometimes we feel a little confident when we shouldn't, but they do feel confident. And also jump is I do let them pick every once in a while, like what their workouts are. I have our captains. We put a lot of responsibility on them to say, okay, like on this Wednesday, like you guys are designing the workout. So what are we doing? And those have been some of the best workouts that we've had just based on the effort that they're giving. So with that being said, we're into our third year. Going into our third year here. And so for a lot of these kids, they have never done cross country as a quote unquote real sport. It's something that they've kind of just, I run here, I ran there. I don't really know what this sport's about. And so it took a lot of adjusting in the first 2 years, coming from what I would consider a big boy program, going into people who have never done this competitively before. And so every Friday, in the summer, we do Fun Friday, and they get a 1 or 2 mile run in, and then we just play games for the rest of the day. So my plan for once we get back, just depending on what that week looks like, is we're going to have a couple of days of just Fun Friday in a row, of getting back acclimated to your teammates, getting back acclimated to like, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like getting back up at this time and getting to the school at this time, because I know you've been sleeping in until noon. Like, here's what it looks like to get up in the morning, to get here in the morning. And like, I know that these kids haven't seen each other in a long time. And you can text and FaceTime and whatever all you want, but it doesn't beat that human interaction. And so I've already pushed, as far as like fitness is concerned, I've pushed this first week as like, let's go play games. Let's have fun, get back acclimated with your teammates. Like, if you're running around in these games, that's good. That we'll get to that running eventually. But in my mind, if I send them out on runs, we start right back up immediately. Not even distracted. They're just going to be so focused on being back with people and talking to those people and stuff. Like, so let's give them that environment to do that and continue to build that culture. So that's kind of where I'm at for our first, at least couple of days, until we can slowly like ease back into like, let's start shaking the dust off. Let's start doing intentional workouts. Let's start doing intentional runs in here. For those first couple of days, I'm really focusing on not necessarily partying, but getting those kids back and getting them back into the family culture, and even use a little bit of that time for some goal setting for the year.
Man, that's good stuff right there. So that's what we do. We normally bring in our kids a month in advance, and we train in the morning and we train in the evening. We have like a captain's run, they go out and they just run the city and that kind of thing. But they do midday miles, and midday miles, because I mean, it's a weird, unique situation that they just literally are there all day long with no class. So you got to keep them busy, because if not, they're going to get in trouble. So midday miles, and they just go and play. They'll go and play basketball. So I'll let one of them kind of talk about midday miles, because I had no part in midday miles. I wanted that to organically happen. And so my captains kind of took over that. And so if any of y'all want to talk about midday miles, that can give some other idea.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and join in on the midday miles thing. I think one thing that really helped us with the midday miles was finding stuff that, gets people out of their comfort zone. You have a lot of people who are introverts and others who are extroverts, but the midday miles was like a really good idea in the sense that we have freshmen coming in, and sometimes, even in high school, you have a new kid come to your school, you have transfers. So it's a really good way to help each other interact. The only thing that I would advise is try to stay away from stuff like, like basketball and frisbees, because you're just asking for somebody to sprain an ankle or take the wrong turn and twist their knee. So yeah,
be out.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. You don't want that at all. You're there to run, but you're also there to grow as a team. I know for us, like being at a Christian university, one thing that we did during midday miles was we did like our devotionals, or you'd have somebody like a captain speak, and they'll be there with the logbook, an experienced runner, maybe a senior on your team, and just tell them, like, this is what I learned from my past years. I wish I knew this my freshman year. I wish I would have taken advantage of, doing my runs the way I should have. I wish I would have, not have slept in so much, and I wish I would have gone to bed early. Just like little tips like that. It doesn't have to be nothing too crazy to entertain, but it's more of like a learning session as well as interacting with one another.
That's good. I just got a good idea. We're going to run with it. So everyone can hear it on here. We're going to call it the Pandemic Chronicles. We're going to let everybody talk about things that happened during the pandemic and how they all grew, because everyone has a story, regardless if they're incoming freshmen, if they're middle school going to ninth grade, or senior, junior. Everybody has a story, and everyone can contribute to that. And so that's one thing, we're going to add that. That's just an idea that came through my mind is allow people to talk. And I think that's what we really missed is, like Ben said, that human interaction. We need to really carve some time that has nothing to do with training. Absolutely nothing to do with training. And if you're like me, Kobe can tell you, I've been blowing them up as I'm trying to make my schedule. Every one of these coaches can tell you I am on schedule plan number 450, because I have made schedule. What if this? What if this? What if this? And because when we train, we want to train based off of our meets. We need to be ready by this meet, by this time. And after listening to Mario, I think I have to change my mindset. We may not be ready when we go to Chili Pepper at Arkansas. We may not be ready competitively, but as a coach, as a facilitator of a program of young men and women, it is my job to make sure they are ready for the next day and whatever it is, and to meet them where they are. And so I think cross country, for me, it needs to be in the back burner. I need to use it as a vehicle to fill the holes that the pandemic has made in a lot of people's lives. And that's just me thinking out loud. So SAGU's going to look completely, different next year. And who knows, that may fill in the holes that takes us to the next level, to the top, as Sage would say. That's our hashtag. All right. Anyone else? David? Oh, okay. You're scared. You're scared to talk. Mario.
Yeah, if I could just intervene and I guess say something that I didn't say before. Obviously, you know, the choosing of your words wisely is going to be paramount for this. But I think also having some good, frank discussion, and I can actually maybe work on putting something like this together if anybody's interested. But like giving your athletes maybe a platform, a place, a safe place to talk about, you know, if you did get better during the pandemic, and if you did come out of this better than you went in, then we would love to hear from you, and we would love to hear why that is, and just having certain things again on a form or questions that you ask where they're able to reflect on that. But here's the other thing though, and I don't think we should tiptoe around the fact that if you didn't do what you were supposed to be doing, because you know it's June and July, and you kind of know you need to get your shoes on and get going, because what would you be doing right now if your coach was texting you and you were at practice? I don't think we need to tiptoe around asking some tough questions there and saying, well, if we're not necessarily ready for Chili Pepper because our number 2 and our number 4 are so far behind because they didn't do what they were supposed to do during the pandemic, we're not casting blame or anything, but can we talk about how we can maybe, if and when, hopefully never, something else like this happens again, how we don't make the same mistake, right? Because the thing about, one of the things that's like wearing me out is the pictures of the DeLorean and everybody saying, can we just forget 2020 ever happened? And it's like, no, let's not. Let's not forget 2020 ever happened. Like, we're living our lives and there's something to be learned here. Don't waste a year of your life or the last 6 months or whatever. Learn from it. And so even those athletes that didn't take care of business, it's, you know, you don't need to be the football coach and grab them by the face mask and, you know, make them run extra, especially not as track and cross country coaches, but like asking good questions of like, maybe starting with some time management questions. Like, can I ask you a question? Did you have 20 minutes throughout your day that you could have maybe just, you know, went outside and got something done? And, you know, and just getting them to see how easily it would have been, because it really wasn't that hard to just carve out a little bit of time to get better every day. And we're not asking you to spend your whole day in the weight room or, you know, running outside. And so I think that that's important. I think having something like that when you come back is going to be important, so that they can think about, you know, what was my role in this? Not a learned helplessness type of a reaction where it's like, well, the coronavirus showed up, and so what do you want me to do, coach? I'm inside all day and there's nothing I can do about it. Yes, there is. There were some things, right? And so what were they, or where did you not maybe see that connection? How could I help you to maybe, you know, make better decisions next time? You know, because like I said, I think that some people are going to come out of this, you know, like, this is a total aside, but I'm interested to see how businesses change. I'm interested to see how a bunch of people make a lot of money off of this because their business plans got better. And I'm interested to see what athletes you had never heard of that now all of a sudden they're household names because they just got to work and they did something special. And, you know, not everybody's sitting at home crying about this. And so, you know, making sure that we use that opportunity. And so, like I said, I mean, if you're interested in doing something like that, I can actually, I'd kind of, you know, thinking that out and thinking to myself, like, that'd be something cool to kind of give or create that I think would help is let's think about it and talk about it, you know?
Scott?
Something that works exactly with that we've thought about, you know, not just with the cross country aspect, but with all sports aspect, is adding to that is creating this mentality of, you know, there is obviously a lot of question of when we would normally start. Like with cross country, we would normally start in August. You know, we'd be starting to get our shoes on now, and we'd start training pretty heavily in August and get ready for first meet end of August in September. what's to say that that's the plan? Something happens again, we go on another form of a shutdown, and then they revamp the seasons, and they say that they want everybody to still compete, but now cross country and all fall sports are going to be moved to November. And now your thought process has to change of what is it going to look like running in November? What is it going to look like if we ran in December? And I think that what you were saying of creating that aspect of there is something we can do is that there is no telling. If there's one thing that I know I've learned during this is there's no telling what's going to happen. It is definitely a day-to-day thing. And if I wake up one day and decide not to work and decide not to train or do anything myself, and then the next day they're like, hey, everything's open, you can go on the longest bike ride that you can imagine, hope you're ready for it, and I'm not ready for it, it's like, well, crap, I just wasted that day because I didn't do anything to prep for it. There's no telling when or how that could happen. So pigging off of that, one of the things that I talked to the kids about just the 1 week that I did see them was that for a good long while, our training process was going to be a mental training. We were going to train the mind as much as training the body. We were going to train the mind on just how to work through adversity, and just to be able to focus on ourselves. And then Sage said it in his description that I really liked was training the body to feel the body, not looking at anything that's technical. It's how do I know when it's time for me to go if I don't know how to read my own body, and learning how to understand what that feels like at the starting line, at mile 1, at mile 2, mile 3, mile 8, whatever that is. And how, what is your mind going through when you push it a little bit? What are your legs saying? What is your breathing saying when you're going through a little bit of it? So that going through that mental process of not knowing what in the world is going to happen next week, in August, in 3 months, our biggest thing we were going to definitely focus on is just training the mind and training to read the body. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was great, Coach. I mean, that's exactly right. We have to retrain what we think and how we think in our runners. And I think, Kobe, you want to say something?
No, yeah, I was just sorry. I was kind of in and out. I was getting some coffee. I'm on my way back from San Antonio. Just going back to kind of what we're doing when the kids come back. And if you know me, I always try to find some sort of in and out where I can find some sort of motivation for my team. Whether it's certain teams or just anything like that chasing, a conference championship, whatever it is. I try to find some sort of motivation week in and week out for my group. And so when this happened right after indoor, we didn't get a chance to hit an outdoor meet. It was like a week before we got started. And so we're sitting there and kind of, in that limbo. We didn't know what was going. So we're still going about our daily business and workouts and following the schedule. I make the schedule out end of May for the entire year, all the way to outdoor conference. So beginning of May. So everybody has a day-by-day whatever they're doing, all the way leading into track and their specific events. So we treated it as a normal track season. Unfortunately, we weren't able to meet because what I did, and now some people are not going to talk to me, but there was a bunch of phone calls from other coaches, some in my conference, some in Division I, that we were kind of talking, and they were like, "What are your kids doing?" And of course, I didn't share a whole lot, but a lot of them, who's one of our bigger rivals, was like, if they want to run, let them run. If they don't want to run, don't run. If they want to just do 3 miles, do 3 miles. They're like, we're not going to force them to do anything. And so immediately I was like, we got on Zoom and I'm like, this is what other teams are doing. Now we can follow suit, or we can put our nose back down and grind it out and continue to get better day in and day out. And if we need a race, we're gonna do time trials, and then you're gonna post it on our group text, your watch, and that's just gonna keep everybody motivated. One thing that we do running logs through Google Sheets. I made a sheet, and it's only between me and one other athlete, so I make a bunch of copies. So the only people that can see it is myself and the athlete. I don't do individual team meetings because we're a women's only program, and I've learned this, kind of more the harder way, but starting out is if I send a text to one of my athletes and say, hey, come to my office, immediately they're thinking, what did I do wrong? What's happened? Am I in trouble? And so when I get in there, we really don't have that good of a conversation because they're sitting there kind of uptight and kind of scared. And then eventually I'm like, you're not in trouble. Like, I'm just checking on you. And so what I do in that running log is I have a notes section every day, and I want them to be as descriptive as possible on how they felt. I mean, of course, there's other things, how they felt, a scale from 1 to 10 section and so on. And that they are allowed to really open up and let me know how they're feeling by doing that. Just for instance, some people are able to talk a little bit better, or if you're kind of in an argument with your spouse, might be able to spout off something through text, and you normally couldn't through voice. So you kind of get a little bit braver, but they open up a lot more that way. And so as of right now, I mean, I see what they're doing day in and day out, and if they miss a day, they put it, because I want them to be as truthful as possible. And that way we can always adapt and adjust on the fly. So if they missed a couple of days of running because they were traveling on vacation, I'm like, all right, well, next week, don't do the full mileage because your body's not going to be ready for it. Just take a couple of miles off here and there, and then slowly work your way back into it. Just things along those lines. And, when usually in years past, when I have them show up in August, because we only show up a week before school starts. I think our sport is different than like football and basketball, and I think it's the beauty of it, because you don't need to learn a playbook. All you need is your shoes and something to run in. So there's no need for you to get here 6 weeks in advance to you're expected to be doing your work. So leading back, we used to do a time trial first practice back, and they would stress over that so much. And eventually I just did away with it the last couple of years, and just kept on doing just our regular workouts with hill repeats or some fartleks or things like that, or sub threshold runs. And they come back more fit, not as scared, because as soon as you hear time trial, they start stressing over it. And then we typically that first cross country meet be their time trial. So, that's kind of what we do. We just kind of continue the course and follow every day. And I see what they're doing throughout the summer. And that's how we stay communicated all year. So if anybody wants a copy of that document, I have no issue in sharing it. And just let me know. Shoot me an email, and I'll get it to you. So.
Excellent. That's good stuff, Coach. If you want, in the chat, you can go ahead and drop your email in the chat, and Kobe can get that, and just so he can have an idea, screenshot it or something. I may even do that to send it to him before we close this off. So I want to already kind of make our way off, because we can talk about this forever. And because I love just listening to y'all. Man, I tell you, we miss it. There you go. There's the email. Go ahead and write it down if you want, and shoot them an email to get that law. Because I think at the end of the day, if you got anything from this talk, is there are multiple ways of having a program, but what we've realized today is everybody, and I mean everybody, is coming from inside their home, stuck in their house, we kind of leveled the ground, if you will. And so we just need to make some changes, adjustment, and kind of see what we can do to make, as the season enters, their entrance back on campus, an enjoyable time, because they have missed us. They have missed being a part of our program for so long, and it seems like ages. I don't even know how long it is, but and so just like I mentioned last week, our team, my staff, we're looking forward to making those tough conversations better. And Mario kind of touched on that. I wanted to show you, it finally came in. When we talk about tough conversations, it's pandemic, but it's also, we're doing a book. It's called, reading a book. It's called White Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism. And I showed everybody what we're doing. And I had a lot of people kind of like, it's like, yes, I know I am not white. I get that. It's okay. But what I do know is I also am not black, you know, and I've never walked a day in the shoes of a black athlete or a black person. And I can tell you from experience, when I grew up in Sugarland, real quick, I grew up in Sugarland, and I played basketball. Believe it or not, I'm about 4'2", but I played basketball. And after youth group, every Friday night we go down about 11 o'clock at night. We drive over down the road and we play behind Funplex, which is an A-Leaf. And we played there for a few hours. And so it was about 2 a.m. We were driving back home in Sugarland, and back then was a predominantly white area. And we're driving home. I used to drive a 1992 Subaru Legacy. Now, granted, this is 1996, so it wasn't like old school. It was pretty cool. And it was baby blue, kind of like Kobe's hat. We call it Love You Blue, Houston Order Blue, okay? And they used to have 2 12s in the back. So he used to be bumping, boom, boom, boom. But we were listening to Christian music, DC Talk, just saying. And but we were driving back after playing basketball. Stinky, me, and my best friend T. And he's about 6'4" black kid. And we're driving, and I never forget. I drove into the neighborhood, and it was a neighborhood that had a median in the way, 2 lanes going into the neighborhood, 2 lanes coming out. And I pulled in. I was on the far right side driving up, and in that neighborhood, cars would park on the side of the road. And we're just driving, laughing, drinking Powerade, you know, that kind of thing. And I looked up and I see there was cars there. So I turned over just to get into the lane. It's 2 a.m. I don't use signal light. And my lights hit the side of a cop car that was right next to me, and I never saw it. Completely lights all the way off. Front lights, headlights, every light was off, but it reflected on and said police. So I slowed down, kind of panicked, turned down the radio. He backed off. He let me over, and the lights came on. We pulled over. He goes, get out of the car. I get out of the car. He makes me get in the back. He immediately handcuffs T, who was a passenger, puts him in the back of the car. He takes me to the back, and he's just meanest person I've ever met. You know, I was like, sir, I'm sorry. You know, I didn't see you there, and shut up, you know, and you know, spread your legs. He checked me for drugs, guns, whatever it was, and I spread my legs, and he kicked them because it wasn't wide enough. I was like, dude, I'm like 4'2". I mean, that's all I got, you know, and so he kept pushing me, and he's, you've been drinking, I said, no, sir, I just played basketball. I'm soaking wet. So he made me do I walked the, you know, down the line, which that is not an easy thing to do. I did it. I was, you know, and then he brought this pen and he made me follow it. And I've never done it. I mean, I'm 17 years old. And so I'm following it. He goes, keep your head straight. And so, and I mean, you know, and all that good stuff. And at the end of the day, I sat there and I was like, what? He goes, all right, y'all go. So we get in the car, and he let T off, and we get back in the car, and I'm just shaking and driving home. And I was like, what did he tell you? He goes, oh, he didn't tell me anything. I asked T, he didn't tell me anything. I said, are you not mad? I mean, they put you in handcuffs. And he told me, he goes, my mom always told me how to handle cops. I thought, what are you talking about? And so he was quiet. He never said a word. They let him go. I was the one that was mouthy. And my dad next day went there, filed a report. Those officers were fired. And I tell you, from that day on, still now, I'm driving down the freeway going 70, 75, whatever it is. And if there's a cop right next to me, my wife would tell you the first thing I do is turn down the radio. And I don't have my 212s anymore. It is truly instilled in me a fear. And so I don't want that to be in any one person in my life. If it's an athlete, if it's a coach, if it's a friend. And so that is something that's real, and I'm not a politician at all. Black Lives Matter, all that is something that is real. And so we're going to do this book. And so I encourage you, I'm not promoting this book. You can't even get it on Amazon. It took a month to get it, but do something for you in your program to be ready to have tough conversations, because those are going to come. Pandemic, Black Lives Matter, they're coming. And so I hope that you got something from today. Mario, brother, thank you so much. We are looking forward to having you back on campus. We're going to do Mario's midday miles. I already see it now. And we want you to come on and help us, because with you, you make us a better person, because we can learn about ourselves more with you. And so I really encourage every coach here to contact Mario. I'm pretty sure he can do Zoom meetings with your team. Now we've changed our game, but thank y'all so much for being here. Next week we'll be here again at 2. We'll have Carl from Track Barn. He is going to speak. I'm excited to have him. They're out of Waxahachie, and they're big contributors to the track and field world. So thank y'all so much. I appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing y'all next week. All right? Y'all take care. We'll see y'all.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Mario.
Take care, guys. Thank y'all.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was fun.